forms. And we also like to have teachers and teaching artists who are professionals and actually are performing now in the symphony, with the Arts Museum and so forth. But also we like to make sure that we have some master classroom teachers in this mix. So that's part of the way we make up the integration arts specialist staff. This is a slide that just talks about the role of the arts integration specialist. And of course, we want to bring the highest quality of arts experiences to the students with academic achievement, making sure that there's collaboration between the classroom teacher and the arts specialist. I thought you'd find this interesting. This is what the schools receive or allocated from fine arts currently. Right now, in total, we have 86 arts teachers who are serving almost 20,000 children. These are K-8 students. And if we broke that down, it would mean 268 students per teacher. Now, that's not exactly what happens, but that just gives you an estimate about what we are able to accomplish. And then the bullets talk about how the FTEs are provided for instrumental music. We begin that in 4th grade with violin. In the OMA schools, all of the 4th grade children study violin. It's pretty amazing. And then in 5th grade, they choose from band and orchestra. When we get up into middle school, the middle schools that are receiving funding from Title IV receive arts integration funding that really enhances their elective programs. Then you'll see we are responsible for scheduling. It's based on the feeder pattern. Generally, we try to do that. And then you'll see in the elementary how many times a week the OMA people teach. And in middle school, you'll see that we fund the band and orchestra. Sometimes our orchestra people also teach guitar. Some of them teach choir to fill in their schedules. And they do those classes 5 times a week. Some of our middle school people also are itinerant because they teach in the feeder elementary schools. For high schools, we don't really fund those. We partner with them. We do professional development with them. We do concerts and festivals together. We pay for the registration fees. Thanks so much to Finance for allowing us to do that. For the regional state competitions, of which there are many, and provide transportation, which has gotten extremely expensive, by the way. I put together a chart for you for all the elementary and K-8 schools. It's going to be on this page and the next page. The yellow highlights the magnet schools, but you will see in the different columns what we provide with OMA or general music or the performing arts, and then the visual arts in the next column, band and orchestra, violin and orchestra starting in 4th grade, and then band follows. But you'll see how these charts work together, and this is the rest of the alphabet here, all with the schools that are listed. Here's the middle school piece. In this case, it's band and orchestra. Once again, some of our people teach guitar or piano. And visual arts is not generally funded by this department, at least not now. It's funded by the schools. That has been problematic. Sometimes when we're not involved in the initial hiring, we find that people get in there that are hired that don't have any experience, really little experience, and then we are responsible for training. And this is the high school piece. Once again, we don't really fund that, but we support that in many ways. And you'll see that we have band, orchestra, and mariachi in that first column, and you'll see it as you read across, bringing in the theater arts program and dance and folklorico where the schools are actually wishing to have it, and where the students are requesting it. That ends my presentation. I usually end with this slide because we have a remarkable program. I'm very grateful for the support that we have. That's all I had to say. I don't know if you have any questions. I'd like to get out of this present there. All right. May I answer any questions for you?
I know you had mentioned the research about how this program has helped, and you mentioned improved attendance. Do you have a specific stat on how much that has changed?
When we did our initial research, went over a period of 7 years, it was significant. Now, we have not repeated that research. I actually asked our OMA design team if they would like us to we have some outside funding that we could repeat these results again. I get the word from the principals all the time about the importance of the program, not only for attendance purposes and discipline, but also for recruiting students to the schools. We're making a big push right now to reach out to homeschool children, to charter schools, to private schools that may not have these kinds of opportunities. And I want to thank communications for helping with that model. We're doing a number of different things to do that. But no, we have not repeated the research because the committee feels that it's not necessary at this time.
And Paul, I see your hand raised. Go ahead.
Thanks. Number one, I would totally go against doing a study to tell us that OMA and fine arts are beneficial. We don't need a study to tell us that. It's totally beneficial. I'm trying to figure out how if we have extra money, instead of doing a study, I'd rather expand the program. I'd really like to know, is there an opportunity for us to expand into dance and musical theater? Again, some kids are into instruments and stuff, but sometimes it's actually a little bit, there's a better opportunity. I grew up attending Utterback, which was the school for the performing arts. So I just wanted to get some feedback on, I'd love to be able to add more electives to our middle schools, but I'm trying to figure out which ones have the facilities to do it.
Paul, I'll just thank you so much for your support. I know you've been supportive for a number of years. What we're trying to do right now with the staff that we do have is cross-train them, and particularly with our performing arts people. Many of them not only teach music, but they can teach movement. Not that they're professional dance people, and they can do some of the folk dancing, but some of the creative choreographed pieces that the high schools do, they're not equipped to do. But we are always training our staff to be more versatile, even the band and orchestra people, so they can fill in, based on the budget that we have, fill in for us as much as possible. One of our problems now is finding enough qualified people to do those sophisticated high school programs. For instance, if we were to increase dance at, let's say, Sabino High School, Choya High School, would we really have a qualified person that could really engage the students? But that's, if we had the additional funding, we'd go after it. We work very close with the University of Arizona as well as ASU and NAU, but we'd reach out beyond the state. I've hired a number of people out of state. In fact, this year we brought in a couple people from New York who are outstanding. And believe it or not, they're former military people that had taught music while they were in the military. So we're very excited about those people. I have them over at Roberts Naylor. They're doing a fantastic job. So we reach out everywhere we can to get people.
Yeah, and that's like some of the stuff I remember. We used to have those special units where a specialist would come into a certain school and teach a unit. I teach PE at Gridley. One of the things I've wanted to do for a long time is bring in like country swing dance for 1 week. I think it'd be a really cool alternative PE, especially when it's really hot and we don't have a gym. And I'll fund it. I'm happy to help fund it through your program. I'm just trying to figure out who we can recruit. There's definitely 3 or 4 different country swing dance troops in Tucson, but we can take most of them and they can come in and co-teach with the everyday teacher. But we could do that for all kinds of different programs, everything from ballet to music. Heck, I'd even love to lay down some hip hop or do capoeira if we could do some stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Awesome.
Let me know how I can help. And again, congratulations on all your success, Dr. Ashcroft. You're one of the shining stars in TUSD.
Oh, you're very kind. Anything else? Well, I guess, Ricky, do I need to say anything else? I just want to thank everybody for their support. We are loving being able to perform for the school board at their meetings. It's just fantastic. Our next presenters up will be some of the OMA opera kids from first grade from Hal. So we're looking forward to that. And really, we feel the support. For so long, arts has been kind of the stepchild, but our superintendents have always been so supportive. And I'm very grateful to leadership, for the role they've played in making our program so successful. We have an incredible staff. Those 86 people and a few teaching artists are remarkable, with very few exceptions. We are so blessed, and having consulted a lot of places around the state, I know for a fact that we have a gold mine here.
All right, thank you so much, Jen.
Yes, you're welcome. Do you want me to leave, or what should I do?
I think you're welcome to stay around if you would like to, but yeah, I think we
Well,
can
I'd love
always
to
reach
hear
out
what
later
Jo-
too if anybody comes up with extra questions.
Okay, I'd love to hear what Joseph has to say about his area.
Right. So we'll go ahead and move on to the school safety presentation.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Appreciate your time. Basically, I was asked to kind of come in and talk about how we spread out our school safety resources across the district. I think this stems from, several high-profile events that may have occurred in recent months. And the question of, how we're distributing our, not only our monitors, but our school safety officers. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and I'm just going to go through basically what we look like as a district right now. All right, so looks a little different. Sorry, there we go. So this is our organizational structure here in school safety. I'm up at the top, and I'll kind of guide you through. I was going to do some transitions, but I didn't know if this would just go over a PDF. So it's going to be a little more challenging to follow. But basically, what we're looking at is if you kind of go down and to the left over safety and security manager, and then you go down and over to the left of him. First, we have a field lieutenant. Last year, I went in front of the school board and they approved an additional 5 school safety supervisors. These are the day shift uniformed armed individuals that we have out during the school day. They also approved the field lieutenant, and this is the individual that filled this spot. His name is Art Levis, and doing a great job. So now we have 10 school safety officers. Historically, those were distributed historically we had 5 during the day, and they were distributed 1 per region and then respond for calls for service in the various schools within those regions. That was their overall responsibility. But because oftentimes we respond to or more to a call, depending on the nature of it, they were pretty much almost citywide, but their general area of responsibility was just to that region. Now what we did is, because the school board approved the additional personnel during the day, we have 1 per high school, and they're also responsible for their subsequent feeder schools. This allows them to be at the schools more often and hopefully more preventative nature. The idea is we're really trying to get ahead of just having to respond to calls for service, and really trying to work with the schools and create a whole culture of safety. We also work closely with the school monitors to try to provide additional training. That is the bulk of what we have on the safety side, but we are a 24/7, 365 operation. So nights and weekends, we also have personnel, but we see significantly less personnel because we have fewer people in our schools. So during the nights, anywhere from after 5 o'clock until 5 a.m. the next morning, and
Taylor,
Saturday and Sunday.
Taylor, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I need to
Yeah.
interrupt. I'm sorry. The location I'm in, the fire alarm just went off, so we need to evacuate. So I need to leave the meeting. Sorry.
Okay. Let's see,
I may be
did-
I may be back. So you just want to pause for a little bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. We didn't have anybody else join in, right? That would make quorum. Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll just have you. I assume it's okay to just pause where we're at and see if he's able to come back.
Sure, I can wait. That's fine.
Do we need to have a quorum to have discussion right now?
Yes.
Did that individual leave from Robbins, the school? Does anybody know what school had the fire alarm?
I don't think it's TUSD.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
I think I'll excuse myself if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you, Joan.
Hello, Taylor.
Yes,
We're back in. It was a false alarm.
wonderful.
All right, well, if everybody's ready, Ms. Pacheco, I can go ahead and proceed.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, yep. So where I left off anywhere, school safety supervisors over on the far left side in the orange. That's basically, again, one per high school. They're responsible also for the feeder schools. So it's a day shift during the school day. We are 24/7, 365. But we have far fewer people to cover all those areas. So at any given time, we're hopeful to have 2 individuals on with a supervisor. Oftentimes it's 1 plus a supervisor to cover the entire district. So nights we run slim, and just, you know, we still have events after hours. We do try to staff some of those on overtime if they're a concern or a bigger event. But oftentimes they're left overseeing the entire district. On the right, we have an investigator. It's not really important for this kind of stuff. And then we have dispatchers that are also 24/7. As far as ratios and how we split up our school safety, is we also have 2 emergency managers. Sam Martin's on this call with me. Kyle Day is the other one, and they basically split the city in half, or the district in half. So we have a west side and east side, and they share similar responsibilities, mostly to do with training, keeping our emergency operation plans up to date, conducting evaluations of the actual schools, so on and so forth. Also under school safety, we have a safety and training manager. They work very closely with our transportation department. And under that, we have all of our crossing guards. Currently there's 140 crossing guard positions, and we have about 107 of those actually filled. If, you know, and crossing guards, for a school to get a crossing guard, it's actually a contract with the city and or the county, depending on where the school is located. And it's a group meeting that occurs between TUSD, the school principal, oftentimes transportation, and again, whichever jurisdiction, whether it be the city or the county, and they decide as a group that a crossing guard is necessary, with actually the final sign off being from the municipality or the county. So that's not something we actually have control of where we put crossing guards. And then where those crossing guards are, you know, when somebody applies for a crossing guard position, they're offered certain positions and then they can kind of choose where they want to go. Oftentimes people will apply for a local school if they live near an elementary school, and oftentimes, you know, just kind of a generalization of retired personnel or something, they'll want to work close, they'll want to work a couple hours a day, so we'll give them that position. We also have 4 traffic safety supervisors. They work closely again with transportation. They do investigations of you know, any accidents that we may, or collisions that may involve any TUSD vehicles. They also evaluate the schools and they supervise the crossing guards. Again, 4 of them, so they just kind of split it up. They've basically arranged their own areas of responsibility because there's 4 of them, kind of an odd number, even though we have 5. So they've just kind of split it up that way throughout the city. And then the last one's key control. Again, we just have a couple personnel. It's actually 2 FTEs that are over in key control. So the next thing, and what really keeps coming up in conversation, is the number of monitors. I think it's important to note that school safety currently does not oversee monitors. All school monitors are, they're hired and supervised and everything by the actual principal of that school. We do try to provide as much training, at least training opportunities. But again, we can't mandate it or any of that kind of stuff. So I'm not responsible for ratios, how many personnel they have on a campus or anything like that. I will say that policy does dictate that they must have, I believe it's, and Ricky can step in if I'm incorrect, but it's basically just says every middle school and high school has to have at least 1, and it may be all schools, but again, not too familiar. I did reach out to Human Resources and also our facilities department to kind of get some ratios of where we currently stand. And you can kind of see those with our high schools. And there's a big range. You know, Santa Rita High School has 1 to 86 monitor student ratio, but they only have a total student population of around 347 currently. Whereas Pueblo has a very significant difference in monitors to student population of a 1 to about 300. And so there's, you know, they average around 1 to 250 or so, I would say. But that's currently where we stand with our monitor student ratio. When you're talking about security, though, it's not only important to talk about number of individuals you're looking over, but actually the area. And this kind of demonstrates that. So here we have the number of acres of each of our campuses and the number of monitors again. And you can kind of see the ratio associated with it. So you go from everywhere from Catalina, where you have 1 monitor is kind of responsible for 12 acres of land, down to Tucson High, where you have 11 monitors in a smaller area, about 26.4 acres. So it gives about 1 to every 2.4. Now, Tucson High also has a significant higher student population, but both things need to be weighed into when you're kind of evaluating how much safety personnel you need. So the last thing, again, I kind of wanted to look at middle school to monitor student ratios. This is where we like to really focus going forward, and I think where we can kind of do the most work. I'll tell you, and this is just, you know, from our evaluation, I'm trying to build statistics references, but many of the problems that we have in our high schools are actually freshmen. And a lot of our issues stem from those middle school ages. It's an awkward time for kids. I know I was a little awkward during my middle school years. So we would love to be able to, you know, as we kind of grow, if possible, with the number of monitors, really kind of focus in on what we can do to increase the number of monitors we have in our middle schools. Because again, it's not just keeping an eye out for violations of policy or student code. It's really trying to build those relationships. And the earlier we can kind of get to them, the better, you know, the more of a positive adult role model figure we can be for them. I think the better off the district and the safer the district will be as a whole. So that's pretty much all the presentation I had. But I did want to, because I wanted to open it up for any questions if anybody had anything.
I know I see Albert's hand raised. I do also just see a question from the chat here that I'll read out. Does acreage take into account multiple floors of buildings?
No, that's just going to be the overall general area. So yeah, you have like I was at a Sabino High School today, you have 100, 200, 300. They all have at least 2 stories on those. Tucson High, the same thing. So this is just general area. Usually they'll try to assign like a monitor per building. But good question.
All right, go ahead, Albert.
Hi, Joseph. Nice meeting you.
Hi.
A question regarding, I know the ratios they're pretty clear, and I know you highlighted a couple areas that I'm sure you want to brought to our attention. But how about cameras? Do we take that into consideration, and how many campuses do or do not have cameras? Security cameras.
I wish we had a lot more. We only have a handful, and again, you know, cameras actually don't fall under school safety either. They're actually under facilities department, so I don't have this very specific details on that. But I can tell you, it's 10 to 12 of our campuses actually have cameras currently. Not even all of our high schools. I know we're really focused on trying to get all the high schools with camera systems. And we're all hopeful that in November, we're able to get some additional resources to expand that across the district. But right now, we're very limited on our camera coverage.
Okay, and so just to follow up to that, and maybe this is a question for Ricky. Ricky, that the purchase of those cameras is contingent upon the bond election?
Not necessarily. That is a component of the bond election, but I know that the school board has just approved the purchase of cameras for a few schools in the last month. But in order to expand and buy them kind of like in a quickly, timely basis, the bond would certainly afford the ability for the district to do that.
Okay, and sorry, just one follow-up question to Joseph. So what does that do to your ratio and your assignment? I know you said that you don't supervise them, but what does that do to your recommendation for ratios for high school campuses, whether or not they have cameras? Does that have an impact at all?
Yeah, cameras are a full force multiplier, right? We can cover a lot more areas, especially because cameras have come such a long way. It's no longer a person having to sit in front of a screen and watch a monitor all day to see what goes on over there. Cameras are much smarter now. They can not only detect motion, you can talk through them, they can have lights turn on, they can detect individuals loitering for too long. They have night vision. So there's a significant amount of stuff you can do with cameras now that, again, would be it's a force multiplier that we'd love to see implementation of more across the district.
Thank you.
All right, the next hand up I saw was Zinnia.
Yes, hi. I'm actually a monitor at Tucson High, and we do have 8 monitors. We are down security at this time, but it's kind of hard to keep all 8 monitors on the floor when we have emergencies and stuff like that coming up. So sometimes we only have like 4 monitors in the buildings, and it's like 1 per building, and we got 3 floors. So and then we get taken away from our post when we're being called to get a student from when there's fights, then we have to assist the administrators at the time for searches. So we're actually, sometimes there's nobody on the floor. Sometimes we get taken away from our position. So I do feel like we need more monitors. If we had at least 3 monitors in one building on the first and second and third floor, especially near the restrooms. I want to say we do not have 3 security monitors. We are looking for some right now, but we only have 2. So then when agents need to be released for a bathroom break, then we have to leave our building to release them outside. And sometimes we're gone for an hour or so, and then there's no one in the building.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll go to Paul.
Just a couple questions for school safety. How many incidents a year? Do you guys track how many incidents a year you have to call back up to TPD?
Yeah, I can get you that information. Unfortunately, with the recent cyber issue, it's kind of a long story, but to try to shorten it as much as possible, is we went to a new computer-aided dispatch system about a year ago, with the hopes that this new computer-aided dispatch system, we'd be able to, mine and extract a lot more data, so we could have a more intelligent response and approach to how we provide our school safety services. Unfortunately, when we went through the cyber attack, we lost all of our data. So about 8 months worth of data was gone. So we're trying to rebuild that, but without, the timeline, we don't have a lot of information to share.
With statistics we're going to need, because what the vision here is for me is, to some degree, you've got how many school safety officers that are post certified? How many you got? Like 26?
No, so none of ours are actually post certified. Post certified, for anybody who doesn't know, is police officer standards and training, and that's for law enforcement officers, sworn law enforcement officers. While the majority or many of our school safety supervisors, especially during the day, are retired law enforcement officers, nobody is actually current certified.
No one has their current post, but a lot of previous posts. So
Correct.
Okay. So my vision is, and we talked about this with Sunnyside too. I'd like to extend an invitation for a few of our school safety officers to attend our CSO Academy through TPD. Not be sworn officers, but to be community service officers, at least so that we have situations where we end up calling TPD. We just don't need TPD. I'd rather not have TPD when needed. And I'd also like to have folks who can handle situations on site with more immediacy. And I think we can get the best of both worlds if we can come up with a school safety CSO hybrid that handles specific things, especially, juvenile assaults, in-school theft, stuff like that. I think we might get a better community response. So that's kind of the idea. I'd like to start that dialogue. And I've asked for a couple of years, and it never seems to, like, everybody says, yeah, then everybody gets too busy. But I just kind of wanted to put that bug in your ear. I think there's actually a legitimate opportunity here.
No, I 100% agree with you. And it concerns me, actually, that there is no real definition of the services that school safety provides. And it's something I'm advocating for at the state level, both with legislatures and the Arizona Department of Education. It's a new path, but a lot of states offer kind of an intermediary position, not really a fully sworn law enforcement officer, because we don't want to do that. I don't think we don't want to enforce laws we want to provide safety services. But it would be nice to have some additional supports and I've engaged with Chad Kazmar and some of the others as well.
Well, so my suggestion is, and then I have to get off, you guys.
But I'd like to facilitate that kind of like a school safety summit with juvenile court and TPD, and then obviously my office on the city side, and see what we can come up with. Again, I do not want a law enforcement environment or a prison type environment in a school by any means. But at the same time, I think there's some opportunities where we can handle things internally more effectively. And so I think that's where we're going. I know we're all speaking the same language, but we'll talk offline about it. And I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing from you.
All right, Paul, I know you have to go, but would you be able to stay just for Stacy and Dora's comments so that we could still ask those questions?
I'm walking to the event, so I'm going to stay online until I hang up. I'm going to stay with you guys. All right.
All right, go ahead, Stacy.
Okay, two things. I saw that Utterback had 0 and there was no highlights under there for safety or monitors. So I didn't know if that was an error or some outside source.
Yeah,
And
no, that
then-
was an outside source from HR, so I needed to clarify, and just with
Okay.
the School Safety Summit or the EDI Summit today, I wasn't able to get to it, sorry.
No problem. And then my next question is, and it's along with Jason Freed's, is what are both buildings and different, I don't know, calls, emergency calls saying that we need more of, both for the monetary and to make a recommendation to the committee, because all schools are so different. And maybe they're handling some internally, or maybe they're saying we can't at all because of a lot of other factors. So those are my things that maybe we can get some more clarification on.
So you're asking what we need more of, my opinion?
Well, yeah, like what would we need more? So like, for example, at Valencia, I have the monitors, I have the size, but at this point in my life, I'm able to house most of the safety with everything that we have. So I am not on a top priority list, or I don't need that based on my building. But there might be some other principals that are saying, oh my goodness, and they've talked with you for school safety. They've said, hey, there's things blowing up that I can't monitor. This is what we really need.
Yeah, I think if I was to advocate for more of anything, it would be definitely like somebody else said, like Xenia said, more monitors, because they're in-house, they build better relationships, and more technology. Again, that force multiplier, being able to cover more of the campus with some of that technology, and then having it to revert to if there are issues would be fantastic. And better training, of course. We need to train our monitors better. And then Dora, did you want to go before Paul had to get off? I don't mean to jump.
I'll do this real quick.
Or Ms. Pacheco, sorry.
Is that okay, Ms. Pacheco?
Yes, go ahead.
Right. Obviously, we all know that our most important thing is to create a healthy and safe environment at every school. So actually, Stacy touched on it right away, because I do know that all of you, Joseph, and you, Sam, you're out and about. Okay, you're hearing the parents, you're hearing the students and everything else. So I think it would be good to hear it from you, what you're hearing from principals, from teachers, from parents, what the needs are. That's number one. And the second thing is going back to the OMA and figuring out what is important here. Part of that is that social emotional piece, that we not only provide those resources, but also what are we doing as far as supporting the students in there? And one of them being, can we even create an after-school program where I know that Dr. Ashcraft said that they were understaffed and they didn't have enough people. But what if teachers, we have teachers or certified teachers that may be qualified to do after-school some kind of program where you're promoting and you're supporting the needs of every student. So something to consider outside the box and partnering with them.
Yeah, great statement. And I like the social emotional part. I've been teaming up very closely. I think Brian's off, but just real quick. Been teaming up very closely with Julie Shivananda, who's our director of social emotional learning. And her and I have really starting to focus on how we can put better programs together, as well as Anna Warmbrand. I'm all about sharing information and working with the other departments to provide the best services we can.
Okay, Taylor, we've lost Paul.
Yeah. Do we still move to end the meeting? Or how does it work from here? Because I assume we're not going to get quorum at another point tonight.
Yeah, because you don't have the ability to vote. You can't even call a vote to end the meeting.
Okay.
We would just have to end the meeting at whenever Paul left. So
We just left at 5:05.
So yeah, end the meeting due to loss of quorum.
Correct.
All right, well, thank you, Joseph, for coming out and giving that presentation. That was super helpful for us. And thank you, everyone else. I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
So Taylor, we
Bye.
probably have to invite them back to the next meeting
Yeah, I
so they
think so.
can finish.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sorry.
No, you're good.